A motion to adjourn from executive session and return to the regular business.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're out of executive session. Before we continue, we ask, request that the freeholder comments be brief as possible with a long agenda. If we could keep that to a minimum, I appreciate that. I'm going to start out with proclamations, certificates, and presentations. The proclamation. So, motion to adopt the proclamation.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. So May Disease Awareness Month, presenting is Freeholders presentation, accepting Mr. Reed Edwards, Marty Faze. Are they here?
Marty's not here, but the other
Marty's
two.
not here?
No, he couldn't make it, wasn't feeling well.
Tell him I'm very disappointed.
I know, I will tell him that. But Liz and John Selner are here
John
also.
From the tick squad. By the way, I had two on it today.
Sorry?
I had 2 ticks on it today.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Come up.
I looked for a lime green shirt today and I failed miserably.
We have something for you.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
And this is for your mailbox.
Please. Yes.
Good to see you.
Thank you. So while they're passing that out, I've been spending some time with this group, even prior to joining the Freeholder Board. This is the tick spot. And Doreen Edwards and John and Liz Selmer, correct? And Marty Faze isn't here tonight. But they've all been affected somehow, or their family members have been affected somehow at varying levels with tick-borne illness, and some themselves suffer from a tick-borne illness. As we know, there's funding, there's a bill that's in front of the state legislature right now. May 1st, they have their session, and we're hopeful that there is funding allocated. On those bills is $1 million to be allocated to counties who apply for grants for treatment of areas and prevention and education for tick awareness. So we're hopeful that that moves forward. But tonight, this is our proclamation. Whereas May is Lyme Disease Awareness Month, and whereas Lyme disease is the fastest growing vector-borne disease in the United States, and ticks are the main source of infection for humans and animals. And whereas each year, 1 out of 30 persons will be infected with tick-borne diseases in Sussex County. And whereas ticks become active when the outside temperature is above 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And once infected, many patients are unable to recall a tick bite, with fewer than 50% reporting a bullseye rash. And whereas ticks that carry Lyme disease can carry many other pathogens, one bite can result in multiple infections, including bacteria, parasites, and viruses, which encompass many tick-borne diseases. And whereas Lyme disease can be a complex multi-symptom illness, which if caught early can be treated with antibiotics, but if untreated can invade the nervous system, hearts, and multiple organs of the body, causing years of pain, suffering, and severe disability. And whereas Lyme disease is called the great imitator because symptoms can mimic over 300 diseases, including but not limited to MS, Parkinson's, ALS, fibromyalgia, and Alzheimer's disease. And whereas the best protection against tick-borne diseases is prevention, education, and early treatment. Now therefore be it resolved that the Sussex County Board of Freeholders do hereby acknowledge and proclaim May 2019 Lyme Disease Awareness Month throughout Sussex County. Copies of this proclamation will be provided to all Sussex County municipalities. By order of the Board of Chosen Freeholders, Herbert Yardley, Freeholder Director, Sylvia Patillo, Deputy Freeholder Director, Dawn Fantasia, Joshua Hertzberg, and George Graham, Freeholders.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. He's going to want to take a picture of us. I don't know if you want to hold this.
This is my skinny son. sense of humor when you have a disease. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for all the work you do.
It's our pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Said allegedly, last year this time, when I got up in the morning, I didn't know whether to call for an ambulance or first.
Oh, Eagle Scouts, I'm sorry. Mr. Schindler, Sylvie Phillips. Good morning.
I have to tell you, I'm always proud of our Eagle Scouts. Joshua and Chris, would you come up, please?
Yes, they have.
On behalf of myself and the Sussex County Board of Chosen Freeholders, I would like to congratulate both of you on reaching the highest rank attainable in the Boy Scouting program of Boy Scouts of America. You will find that through the years, being an Eagle Scout will always have relevance in your life because you have been shaped by the traditional values of the Scout oath and law. You recognize that you have a purpose and life is not all about you. You also understand the importance of giving back to your community and making a difference in the world. Over time, you may become the voice for your generation, a voice that inspires hope and fights for what is right and supports the moral bonds of God, family, and country. But the determination that is needed to stand up for what is right in the future starts here, tonight. As you begin your new journey as an Eagle, I want you to remember one thing. Your scouting experience will always reset and adjust your moral compass if you allow it to. If you choose to be true to what you know is right today, you will have a high standard of Scout values and conduct that will set you apart from the ordinary and make you extraordinary young men. So Joshua and Chris, as you rise up and join the Brotherhood of Eagle Scouts, we all commend you on all your accomplishments, and we wish you much success in all your future endeavors. Congratulations on the job well done. I also want to say that our Eagle Scouts always do beautiful projects in a PACON, and yours at the Senior Center, and yours at the Modig Park. Built a beautiful shelter for the children, the bus, and before the garden for the seniors. So not only are we very proud of them, but we're very grateful for all the work that they do in the county and the way they serve our community. So with that, I'd like to read a proclamation. The first one is for Joshua. Whereas Joshua Spitzer, a member of the Boy Scout Troop 88 of Pacon, New Jersey, Patriots Path Council, has earned Scouting's highest rank. And whereas Joshua has earned 24 merit badges and does his best to maintain the ideals of Scouting in his daily activities. And whereas for Joshua's service project, he built a raised garden at the Senior Citizen Center in Apacon, affording the seniors a designated and secured location to grow vegetables, herbs, and flowers for their personal enjoyment. Now therefore be it resolved that the members of the Sussex County Board of Chosen Freeholders trust that the Scout Oath and Law will continue to reinforce Joshua's ideals and contribute to his exemplary code of conduct as an adult. Be it further resolved that the Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of Sussex wishes Joshua Spicer continued good scouting and success in life. By order of the Board of Chosen Freeholders, Herb Yardley, Freeholder Director, Sylvia Patillo, Deputy Freeholder, Dawn Fantasia, Joshua Hertzberg, and George Jam, Freeholders. Congratulations. You may remember this, Marshall. When I first met you, and I first met Joshua, and I was the mayor, Joshua was about this big. He was a little Cub Scout, and he had this hat that was too big, but he was the most energetic little one that was ready to go do whatever he had to do with all that energy. And
That was me.
yeah, Chris, a little different. But he built a great project. Whereas Christopher Schindler, a member of Boy Scout Troop 88 of Pacon, New Jersey, Patriots Path Council, has earned Scouting's highest rank. And whereas Christopher has earned 30 merit badges and does his best to maintain the ideals of Scouting in his daily activities. And whereas Christopher's service project involved building a bus stop structure at Modic Park in Apacon. This structure will protect the children from the inclement weather while they wait for their bus. Inclement weather, I'm sorry. Now therefore be it resolved that the members of the Sussex County Board of Chosen Freeholders trust that the Scout Oath and Law will continue to reinforce Christopher's ideals and contribute to his exemplary code of conduct as an adult. Be it further resolved that the Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of Sussex wishes Christopher Schindler continued good scouting and success in life. By order of the Board of Chosen Freeholders, Herbert Garvey, Freeholder Director, Sylvia Patillo, Deputy Director, and Dawn Fantasia, Joshua Hertzberg, and George Graham, Freeholder.
What? Karen should get up there with that.
No way to brought that.
Same every minute, every day, it's fine.
You know, I just want to end by saying that our young men do not reach this or attain this type of a level in Boy Scouting unless they have a family that's behind them and a community that's with them. And I want to thank the family members here that work so hard and have been part of the troop as well as the leaders of the
There's a certificate of recognition running we got passed away February 25th. He was active in Vernon government since 2011, serving as council president. Previously served as a member on the Vernon Historic Society, Historic Preservation Commission, Art Advisory Commission, as well as the Fire Marshal. So we will be also we will be at the event, the senior event on Friday. Sylvia and I represent the campus.
I'm sorry, sir, can you speak a little louder? We can't hear you back here.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
We're talking about Daniel M. Kaddish, passed away February 25th. He was active in Vernon government since 2011, serving as council president. Previously, he served as a member on the Vernon Historic Society, Historic Preservation Commission, Art Advisory Commission, as well as the Fire Marshal. And we will be attending the presentation ceremony on Friday afternoon, senior of the year. Okay. Next presentation is Lake Apacon Foundation annual presentation by Martin King. Here, Martin.
And I have our executive director, Jess Murphy, with us here today. Thank you. It's hard to believe that we're 7 years old now as an organization, and I think we've seen you for most of that time. This is, a background. We're just a nonprofit organization at Lake Apacon that was formed really to address a lot of the issues that government really doesn't have an ability to address, or
to the people around us. It is actually the fourth
or is unable to address. And with that, we really do appreciate all the support you've given us. And really, the reason we come is to give you a really quick update on what's going on at Lake Apacon and take back any feedback you have as far as priorities and initiatives that we should be seeking or pursuing. And with that, the first activity we'd like to tell you about is Jess is going to tell you just a quick one about the floating classroom, because since we saw you last, it's in the water and has been serving students.
Yes. So the floating classroom launched about a year ago, like next week, and we were able to serve about 800 students last year. This year we've extended to about 1,200 students. They're from 5 different counties, including Sussex County, including the borough of Apacon, but also several other school districts in the county. And I always say I'm very proud of a lot of what we do at Lake Apacon Foundation with water quality and safety, and community building and a variety of other things. But there's nothing I think that we do that's more important than teaching the kids around the lake about how to take care of the lake. Because the best thing we could do for the future of Lake Apacon is make sure those who grow up around it know how to take care of it, and not just Lake Hopatcong, but wherever they live as they grow up.
Yeah, and it's amazing how many kids like that live in Sussex County have never been on Lake Hopatcong. This is their first opportunity to see and the amazing resource that we have there.
Yeah, and it's a great, I mean, you think about, there's so many science lessons you can tie into it. We gear our lesson plans to 4th and 5th grade because that ties into the core curriculum standards. So it's much easier. What they're learning in our field trip program really kind of coincides with what they're learning in the classroom. The floating classroom is really just one part of our field trip program. That's one station. They do Secchi discs where they check water quality. They collect samples and they look at they get a little freaked out by the little critters when they're looking through the microscope to see what kind of plankton, little phytoplankton are swimming around with them. But we also take them down into the Musconetcong River where they collect macroinvertebrates to help determine the water quality. We do an enviroscape lesson with them, which is like a model of a watershed, and they can see if they put sprinkles or various things, where a farm is or a gas station or something, and then they spray the water they see, as if a rainstorm came, they can see how it all ends up in the body of water, and they learn that they're, wherever they are, wherever you're standing, you're in a watershed. So whatever you do to the land where you're standing, it affects a body of water somewhere. And then we also take them on a nature hike through Hopatcong State Park. And so it's a great day. I think we've got 20 schools. I think we just confirmed another one that is going to add on to one of our days. But 20 schools coming through over 12 days this spring. And but the floating classroom itself doesn't just run through our field trip program. We also do summer excursions. So if you ever want to come out and do the same lessons, it's a little more, it's a little less rushed in the summer. We kind of can spread it out over 90 minutes instead of the 45-minute station. But you're welcome. They're Mondays from 11 to 12:30 because the park is easy to accommodate. They're out of Hopatcong State Park, and when you go into the weekends and whatnot, it gets a little complicated. So. But you're welcome to join us on any of our public excursions and kind of see firsthand what we do. We're hoping to move into a fall program as well, and we also are working with some summer camps to get some summer camp groups out on the week as well. But it's as you can probably tell, it's my favorite thing that we do. I think you get a lot of good feedback. You get a lot of excitement.
And until now, the only place you could take the kids was down to Sandy Hook, which is quite a ride from here to Sandy Hook for a class trip. So let them enjoy the local resource. On the environment side, as Freeholder Patillo knows, one of the biggest ways of getting howling at Lake Hopatcong is over the weeds, as in the other lakes here in Sussex County. And with really Mayor Francis of Hopatcong, we've been working on really looking at a lot of initiatives that don't involve herbicides or just this mowing, which is what we do now really with the weed harvester. So one of the things we've been looking at in depth has been the possibility of sterile grass carp, which is used in 35 other states, and used actually heavily in New York State and fairly heavily in Pennsylvania. But New Jersey, up till now, DEP has really kept them out of as a tool in our really in our toolbox. So we're working it. We've had lots of meetings on it. Actually. Our local senators, state senators have been working with us on perhaps it's the establishment of a commission to take an overall look at New Jersey's position as to sterile grass carp and see if it's an appropriate position today. Because certainly it's not just Lake Hopatcong we're looking at. There's a lot of lakes in Sussex County that have serious weed problems, and if this is one thing that can be done. And they work a lot cheaper than the weed harvesters. And they are sterile, they're 100% sterile, so you don't have to worry about that. And we're kind of looking at a weird kind of coalition between like the fishermen and sportsmen and the environmentalists, because it's an alternative to herbicides, but it seems to work. So more to follow on that, but we're not giving up on that one.
If I could ask you just a question. What is the DEP's main objection to the carp?
The freshwater fisheries area is very concerned that if they get into our rivers, they will change the habitat. Not that they will breed in them since they are sterile, but if they got into rivers and they started eating too much, they could change spawning habitats, is basically what we understand the biggest concern to be. It's interesting, New York State, which is not exactly, not concerned with their environment, has allowed it into 1,500 of their lakes and uses it very, very frequently.
Do they have studies on the impacts where they have used it?
There are, and there's been two, be fair, there's been 2 reported cases where they did a lot of damage because they stocked too many fish. One in Pennsylvania, one in Virginia, where they, like the one in Virginia, they did it based on the amount of acres of the, not vegetative acres, and they put way too many fish in. And if you put too many fish in, they'll eat everything that's there. That's why the model is so important of what you use. Like in Lake Opackland, we were looking at in Crescent Cove, which is one of the worst areas in the borough of Opackland, and we were talking about basically under 100 fish. So it's not going to cause this great statewide problem. And it was to do it as a test to observe what exactly did happen. And when that didn't work, we looked at Bear Pond as another alternative, also in the borough of Opackland, for the same reason, just to prove that it does work, but the model is very important.
Just also on the environmental front, you can see we're continuing our water scouts, which they've been we actually inherited that project from the Media Club, so it predates even the foundation, which they keep an eye out for water chestnuts and other invasive species. We have our Lake Steward program. They're based in the Morris County Park, Lee's Park, with launching boaters to educate launching boaters about invasive species, about how to properly clean their boats so they're not transporting it, and also collecting information about where they're coming from, because if we know that we have some percentage of boaters coming from a lake or a body of water that has some specific invasive, we know what we should be keeping an eye out for. So we're continuing those. We did have our 5-year drawdown this past year, not that we controlled the drawdown, but we had our cleanup associated with it, which I always say is this mixed bag, because we pulled tens of thousands of pounds of debris out of the lake, which feels good, and then you're also kind of like, why is all of that there? So it's a weird mix of being excited and kind of disappointed. I was kind of hoping after the 2013 one it would be a little less this time, but that went really well. We had about 400 volunteers around the shores of the lake pulling debris, and then the nice thing about right afterwards is we had a ton of rain, well, including that day, and the lake refilled, I think, to its normal level. It's already above the dam height, so we had one of those 5-foot drawdown years, which, as Sylvia knows, can be a little controversial if the lake doesn't refill, but it did. So everybody's ready to have a normal summer on the lake, so we were able to get all that stuff out of there.
And the Lake Opackland Trail, when we last for you, we had been done all 10 miles through Opackland. It's a great trail. We kind of stopped at the Weldon Quarry. We had an issue of getting through, which actually we just had meetings with the folks at Weldon today, so hopefully we're going to get around that issue. Otherwise, we may have to actually hop over the quarry and just, take it the rest of the way through Jefferson, Mount Arlington, and Oxford, but we're intent to get that 40-plus mile trail completed around the lake. It's just great. And one of the nice things is, right over the Opackland border in Jefferson, they've just built a causeway over to Liffey Island, which is one of the nicest undisturbed parts of the lake. And it's just a wonderful resource that people will be able to actually utilize now off of this trail. So, all good.
With safety, we're continuing to enhance police patrols, adding at times where the lake is very busy, and we are hoping to continue to up our numbers with dock numbers. We've got about 40% of the properties around the lake have a dock number. It's there so that if you're having an emergency on the water and you need to call it in, you can kind of give an address. I know I grew up on the lake, and if I was in an emergency situation, I don't know if I could adequately describe where I was, but if you say a number, please know every dock number, what street address it's associated with. So that's, we're hoping to keep, we'd love to get over 50%, but we're just under 40% now. Obviously, we'd love 100%, but it'd be nice if we knew half of the properties on the lake had it, because then there's pretty much a guarantee wherever you are, you would see one.
And on the community side, and one of the big things of our organization we realized early on was just to improve the way people think about Lake Opackland. I mean, it was just, just a whole mental thing that they, not to look at it as 4 separate communities, but look at it as the natural resource it is to the state, that you have this amazing lake there, and people should really feel good about it. And a lot of our activities have been geared toward that. We have the Lake Opackland Block Party that's coming up on May 11th, which you're all obviously invited to, and we hope to see some of you out there. We fill Opackland State Park with all types of, with over 200 booths, restaurants. It's just a day all about the lake. Demonstrations. It's just a fun day right there in the community. We do our lake loop in the fall. We've been trying to change the whole appearance as you come into Lake Opackland, because to get to the borough of Opackland, you have to go through this part of Roxbury that is really ugly. So and it's the first thing that most people see of Lake Apacum. So rather than like you go to a shore county to see a nice presentation, that doesn't really happen there, but it's going to change. There's a bunch of federal money that's coming down to Morris County to change that as part of that bridge work. So we're very excited about that. And we have to do things like our native plant sale and our new home.
Yeah, so we just moved into the landing train station. I don't know if you, for those of you who have been to the southern end of the lake, the old Lake Apacum train station. We've spent the last 4+ years rehabilitating it. It's now our office, but it's also going to be used as a community center for seminars and other opportunities for groups to come together to learn about the lake, to meet, just kind of to be a community center for the lake. It's technically the Lake Apacum Foundation Environmental and Cultural Center. And so one of the first things we have is the Smithsonian traveling exhibit will be there from July 1st to August 9th. So if you want to swing by, we'll have open hours for that. We're the first location in New Jersey to be hosting it. We're having a film festival at the Palace Theater in Netcon on July 13th associated with that. Wild and Scenic Film Festival, and we'd love for you to come by and you can visit the station anytime. It's very exciting that we're finally
Yeah, please,
in
if
there.
you're going by, if you find yourself in that part, the real southern part of the county, please stop by and see it. We're really thrilled with it, and it's really going to be another community center to just do all kinds, whether it's fishing, hunting, boating, you know, gardening, anything people want, it'll be right there. There again, another way of just improving what we do.
Where do you advertise the event?
On our website, e-newsletter, electronic newsletters that go out. Some of these events will have, you know, more signage for than others.
And it's the Sussex Herald is actually very good about, the Herald is very good about picking up our events. So a lot of it is social media these days driven, or just sign up for our newsletter and you'll be sure to get once a week an update on what's going on at Lake Apacum.
I was just wondering, for events like this, can we get them onto our website, things to do in the county? So I'm
We're
gonna-
technically Morris County, but if it's, we're so close to the
Well,
border.
you're close, I'm sure people will,
But Akron is
I
the
mean,
largest town in the
yeah.
world.
That's true. It's
So,
half, yeah.
so it's half,
I'll just
okay,
stick
so,
to it,
Yeah, our new offices are about a mile on the wrong side of the border.
we have to see how we get some of
Get
the
some more information.
more information out there, because there are a lot of things that go on in the county.
There's a lot of good things that they're.
Oh yeah, and you know, when we do like a, you know, something on fishing, something on master gardening, something on antique boats, you know, it's not, if someone's interested in antique boats, they come from, you know, a different part of the county down there, it's a lot closer than going to normally where such events would be.
And when you talk to the DEP on the carp situation, they should know by now that your carp are already in the fallen spill. So I don't know what their issue is with the carp.
We, you know,
Yeah, the river.
it's sometimes you feel like Don Quixote out there battling that, you know, windmill, but you know, they keep us on our toes, DEP. So but that's really it. I mean, obviously, we're going to continue what we do. We've been trying to get any elected official that has never been to Lake Apacum there so they can see the amazing resource that they own. And we hope we'll see you around the lake this summer.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming, and don't forget Miss Lotta Cruises.
Well, and the other thing is, you know, we do a veterans cruise. Yeah, that this year is actually the end of June, and all 4 towns in the lake put a veteran, and that the Miss Lotta cruise is good enough. Lee Moreau is with us on our runs our block party for us. He arranges it, and it's just a wonderful salute. Like people from Apacum line up on River Styx Bridge to salute the veterans.
It is like instant tears. It's a
It
very,
is,
it's very emotional.
And this year is the 29th of June, and it's just a nice thing we do at the lake to salute the veterans. And I have to say, Lee Moreau's made that happen. It's put a real tradition at the lake, and it's a very nice tradition at the lake. So,
I don't know which, there's like a morning one, there are 2 of them, and I know 2 of the towns are at one time and 2 are the other. I'm not sure when
Akon's first in the morning.
The first, okay.
yeah.
It's a good news. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next presentation, Dave Blackburner, Senior REHS, Registered Environmental Health Specialist, Supervisor, Office of Mosquito Control. Do we have a presentation? Yes. Okay, do we have that here?
This is our presentation.
We have a spot one we're leaving her.
Number 3.
Three.
I'm sorry, what is it?
Am I jumping the gun?
Yes, she's going to do her
Okay.
presentation.
Do your presentation first.
Thank you. Do I need the microphone?
It does help, if you
Okay.
wouldn't mind holding it, it's just for recording purposes. Speak loud, it will amplify.
Okay. As Freeholder Director already said, I'm Kate Walker. I'm the supervisor of the Sussex Office of Mosquito Control. I thank you for having me tonight so I can talk a little bit about what we do. I'll be brief. I know we have a lot of things to get done today. So I'll just get into it. So we use an IPM approach to controlling mosquitoes. Yeah, I apologize. We use a knowledge of mosquito biology, such as life cycle, species-specific behavior, the host-seeking preferences combined with the surveillance that we conduct to help us determine the threshold needed to control the mosquito populations. So basically, I'm using science to determine when and where we control mosquitoes. We don't spray just because we get a complaint. We have to back it up with science. In our office, we have 3 full-time employees that are licensed through the New Jersey DEP to apply pesticides. Each of us are also certified ID specialists. We also have 4 seasonal employees who operate as pesticide applicators as well. We have a full-time lab, and our ID specialist is here tonight, Eric Risley. And he IDs all of our mosquitoes. And we have a brief discussion today about how we probably process about 40 traps a week during the season. So Eric looks at like 5,000 mosquitoes a day, which is so kudos to Eric, he does a great job. No doubt he knows what he's doing and he's doing what he does, so great having him. So public relations is really important to our success as a program. It's important to get the correct message out to the public. There is a lot of misunderstanding of what we do, especially because we apply pesticides. So it's important to have a positive influence on the public and promote the good things that we do. So we do that in various ways. We participate in community days. We do present sometimes. We have a traveling 80s pictures display, which is that we try to get every town building in the county. Essentially just educates them what Aedes albopictus is. It's a certain species of mosquito that can transmit disease to the human population. And it can also transmit the exotic diseases. So it's critical for everyone to know how to control this mosquito because it's found in our backyards. It's a continuous species. So we use the towns and the libraries to get that message across. So we set it up for a week at a time. We also do a lot of collaboration with other departments. I do roadside cleanups with Clean Communities and the Sussex County MUA Walkill River Watershed Management Group. They've been great. We've been networking with them. They've been asking us to participate in a lot of their children activities, so that's really been beneficial for our program. So we receive a lot of public complaints. That drives our program a lot. We receive them from the public, municipalities sometimes, and the Division of Health. They're mostly about abandoned pools. They request truck spraying or treatment of woodland pools that are near their house. Or they just want us to figure out where their mosquito problem is coming from and how to fix it. So our response includes, surveying their yard and their community yards around them, and natural habitats as well. And if we find things, we do apply pesticides. I do want to make a point. Look at this graph here. In 2011, we have 1543 complaints. That's a lot for us, as you can tell in the graph. And last year we had 435. So in 2011, we did not treat the aerial application for the aerial sites that we have, the floodplains that we have in the county. And it's essential to treat those because if we don't, that's what happens. And that's what happens. I don't really each other, but so in 2018, we had access to the emergency reserve fund, which was key to our success last year, because if we didn't do that, it would have been well above the 1540 services last year. So I just want to point out that that's really important for our program, is to have an emergency fund. Because if we can take care of the sites, then we can take care of the rest of the county too. It gives us time to. So disease surveillance is the core of our program. Everything we do is to decrease the risk of disease transmission to the human population. We collect adult mosquitoes, and we test them with, we test them for various diseases, such as West Nile virus, which is endemic to the county. We test for Eastern equine. We also test for lacrosse. Lacrosse can be found in Orange County, New York. We haven't found it here yet. I would like to start testing for Jamestown Canyon. We did have a human case in 2015. Hopefully this year, the health department will open it up to us. And we also test the Aedes albopictus, the Asian tiger mosquito, for dengue, Zika, and chikungunya for travel-related cases. If we have any positives in the county, we do surveillance around those cases, and we test mosquitoes just to make sure there's no local transmission. So the other graph that I have here is for the positive pools of West Nile from 2007 to 2018. Just want to point out that we're having problems with our West Nile. It's getting worse. And I hope that this doesn't continue. And I hope that it goes back down. It could go back down, but it could come back up. My concern is that it's going to be worse every time. So we have these two bars here, which are our highest at the time. And then 2017, we had 40, and last year we had 56 positive pools. So every time we have a wave of West Nile, it's getting worse. So my concern is that it's going to continue to get worse for us. More resources is important to keep up with that. We also have a biocontrol program where we stock Fathead minnows supplied by the state fish hatchery for free. And we also work with the state Office of Mosquito Control Coordination. And we just stock artificial containers, such as swimming pools or ornamental pools for mosquito larvae. Very good wording. Mosquito larvae.
You weren't supposed to say it. She asked me to do that, by the way.
Okay, so we use the fish in place of pesticide, essentially, so we're trying to cut down the cost. We don't have to keep going back and treating the pools. So back to the aerial applications is a major part of our program, as I had mentioned. The areas in red are our hot spots, those are the areas that we treat. We are treating about 2,000 acres at a time. We have over 4,000 acres to potentially treat. So those are big areas, and the mosquitoes that come from there are floodwater mosquitoes, and they can fly very far. So it's essential to hit that, so we're not putting all our resources into these areas constantly. So just start spraying. So if we don't treat them, we get a lot of complaints, and the residents can't go outside their homes. That's it. It's just a nuisance, a major nuisance. And it's labor intensive for us, but it outweighs the benefits of it when we do it. It takes 1 day to inspect and 1 to 2 days to treat if the weather's right, and then we have to spend another day to re-inspect and make sure our pesticides work. So there's a lot of effort going into it, but like I said, there's a lot of work if it's done properly. So our last resort is our Adulticide applications. We do them. We do them, are performed on the ground, not aerial. And we usually in response to disease. So you'll see us around August and September. We'll be doing more of that. We are going to try ATV spraying this year to get into the little nooks and crannies as the spring enters. And hopefully that'll help us with our truck. It'll be in addition to our truck spraying. The truck spraying has a bad image, but I will say it's low rates of application. I put up here a football field is about 1.3 acres, and that equals to a total product of 0.5 cups of product. So you think of how big a football field, and that 0.5 cups is going on that football field. It's very small. You don't need much to kill a mosquito. I also before we do our adulticide applications, we have to call our beekeepers 24 hours prior to every application. And we have a pre-notification list and a no spray list that we have to call people 12 hours beforehand. So a lot of prep goes into this as well. So GIS technology is important for us. It's important for our program. We have been using the Sentinel GIS for 10 years now. And unfortunately, we have to migrate to Field Seeker GIS because Esri is no longer supporting a certain type of software that Sentinel runs off of. So fortunately, Sussex County has invested in great GIS technology. So we are leveraging that technology. We're using Esri, the Esri contracts that are in place, and we're using our GIS platforms, and that's what Field Seeker operates off of.
What are you using the GIS platform for? What do you do with it?
So we use it for everything that we do. We use it for our larviciding program, and we use it for our adulticide program. If you look in this picture, this is part of that's our GPS unit. It follows us while we're spraying with the truck, when it's on, when it's off, and it also tells us when we're approaching a beekeeper location or a no spray location. It tells us to turn the sprayer off. So we're not in the dark, we're not looking for that and this, that. So it's that's one of the important parts of it. We also use our service requests to do that. It helps us map everything visually. So it ties the office work and the lab work and the field work together, which is really, really important. The Field Seeker offers real-time connectivity between office and field. So we're going to get a faster response, we're going to be more efficient, we're going to get better management out of it. So I'm excited for that. I've been working with David Kunz and Dan Freed and Cassidy from Records Management, and they've been great. They've been helping me do this. So they're also, this is another thing where I was talking about how I send out all the pre-notification calls I have to call people. Well, I asked Dave and his team to put together this app that helps me cut down on that work. So the app is going to be on the website, and it's going to be available to the public. They can register as a no spray, they can register as a pre-notification, and they can register their beekeeper locations if they miss the registration deadline. And what it does is it maps each location, and then I can go in and draw in a polygon area where we're going to spray with our trucks, and it kicks back an Excel spreadsheet of everyone I need to contact. So before, that took me 2 to 3 hours, and now it's going to take me 5 to 10 minutes.
Is there also a place where people can notify you guys of large bodies of like standing water?
Yeah, we do have, Thor has a service request feature on the website, and they can fill out the information on it. We can also incorporate it on this as well. Yeah, so that's it. I put my contact information in the paperwork that I sent you, or gave you, so if you have any questions.
Thank you. So now, we have a presentation, certificate presentation in the New Jersey Mosquito Identification, Habitat Recognition, Biology, and Control Certification Exams to take block. Eric Risley? Risley? Come on up here, Eric. Come on up, Dave. And Stephanie Schneider?
She's not here tonight.
Not here? Okay, Stephanie's walk out, but we faster if we get that. So we want to give these presentations out. So this is from Rutgers University, New Jersey Agriculture Experiment presents this certificate to Paige Lockburner and Eric Risley for successfully completing the requirements of biology and control January 29th to February 21st. Mosquito habitat April 11th to May 30th. Mosquito identification June 30th, 7th. And Eric's for mosquito biology and control, mosquito habitat recognition, and mosquito identification. So congratulations to both of you. Very hard to pass this test. I don't think everyone realizes that they take these little tiny mosquitoes that annoy the heck out of us, and they have to be able to identify, correct me if I'm wrong, they're different species, correct?
Yeah.
And you got 100 on that test?
Yeah, Eric got a 99.
And Eric got a 99. One of the reasons I wanted to have them here and recognize them. Two highest tests, I think the 100 is the first time anyone got that, is that correct? And the 99, right? So, yeah, so we have, and you know, lots of times we do not recognize the achievements of the people we have. I do know a little bit about Paige. I think Paige, the first words out of her mouth was mosquito. But
That's the first I heard.
you started here when you were how old?
A baby.
Part-time?
19.
19, and she worked over the summers going through college,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she's been with us ever since, and she's done a great job. And I think, just a couple things, and then I'll shut up. There are, at times, hundreds of calls that will come in, or thousands of calls that will come in about mosquitoes. And I have to say the mosquito department works very hard and they try their darndest to get to every mosquito, every problem as best they can. And they do a really, really good job. And I just think all of us owe you some gratitude here for the hard work you do. And I think, just want to say congratulations.
Thanks.
Eric? Thank you. There you go. Okay. Thank you very
I'd like to know how much money and how many cases.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Just for
All right, there's one more thing. Now we go to the public hearing. Resolution authorizing the reading of the 2019 Sussex County budget by title only, in accordance with NJSA 40A:4-8. Do I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, the Sussex County, okay, so the Sussex County budget as approved. The motion to open the public hearing at 2019 Sussex County budget as approved. Do I have a motion on that? Motion. Second. So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone that wishes to address the board in regards to the Sussex County budget? Please come up, state your name, and sign in.
Mr. Director, if I may,
Yes.
would you like me to just read a recap of the 2019
Yes, I would.
budget? Thank you. Each year, the Board of Chosen Freeholders is required by law to adopt a county budget. The Budget Subcommittee, comprised of 2 freeholders and administrative staff, prepares a draft document, but the board must ensure that the adopted budget satisfies the needs of the county. Like in prior years, when the focus has been on sustaining programs and services, the 2019 budget does just that. It maintains and in a few areas enhances service levels. This year's budget included departmental goals and objectives, which contributed to the board's goals of financial accountability and meeting the demands of our customers and the infrastructure needs of the county. The 2019 county budget totals $112,048,488. With this budget, the county is within the state mandated appropriation and tax levy caps. Significant dollar increases are seen in group health insurance and statutory expenditures, which represent the majority of our pension expenses. These increases in these 2 appropriations account for 78% of the total increase in the county budget. Reductions in the budget include patient maintenance at state psychiatric institutions, out-of-county tuition, and accumulated leave compensation. These reductions total $555,076. In addition to these reductions, the county has benefited from changes in health insurance negotiated with the Sheriff's Office Union and a new offering made to non-represented employees. The implementation of this new benefit results in group health insurance savings of nearly $138,000. The 2019 county budget provides appropriations to advance a number of county priorities, including allocating funds in support of the privatization of the Long Line and Pavement Marking Program, working towards the national accreditation of the Division of Health, which is anticipated in 2020, funding a safety consultant to update the county's road safety policies and procedures, and appropriating funds within the general fund for vehicle purchases within the offices of fleet management and the sheriff's office. The 2019 capital improvement program includes road resurfacing, environmental remediation of various county-owned sites, guide rail maintenance and repair, community college building improvements, security for county buildings, public safety paging system enhancements, and technical school improvements. The 2019 county budget calls for a tax levy increase of $1.8 million, or 1.9% over the 2018 tax levy. Despite the reductions in appropriations mentioned here, the decision to increase taxes is carefully considered in the context of the county's long-term fiscal health, especially in times of slow economic growth. This year's budget maintains a prudent level of fund balance in order to avoid potential spikes in future tax rates. The 2019 budget as presented maintains current service levels and, as I mentioned earlier, and in a few areas enhances some of our services. These services are being provided as best as can be in accordance with residents' expectations and contribute to the quality of life for all taxpayers of Sussex County.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Public hearing is now open. Anyone present wishing to be heard, please step forward.
Everybody else is watching, huh? Bill Gettner from Waters Township. The tax increase is $1.75 or $77 million is a total disaster. You are forcing the people out of the county. They're voting with their feet, they're getting up and moving. Look at the foreclosure list. This year, because of the changes in equalization ratio, Waters Township and Branchville are the hot seats. The two people who run for election last year promised to help. They're not helping. Waters Township is going to see a $95 increase, the average property owner. Branchville, $82. Combine all of our taxes, and Waters tax assessor, the average home is going to see a $219 increase. Without their elementary school taxes or the municipal tax increases, the average homeowner is going to see an increase of $270. Can't afford it. You've got to cut your budget. There are many ways you can cut this budget. We keep hearing about the reductions in the sheriff's office. $1 million, $2 million, throw the figure out. We keep hearing about it. Last year, the sheriff's office, if I combined all the correct numbers, spent $15.4 million. Their budget this year is $17.47. Just $2 million. It amounts to a 13.4% increase. That's obscene. Salaries and wages. Budget page 26, I got most of my numbers on there. This year's budget is showing a decrease of $388,000. Last year, the budget was 33 for wages and salaries. They spent 30. There's an excess of $3.2 million, or 10.67%. This year's budget for wages and is $32.8 million. If I use last year's spending of $30 million, there's an excess of $2.8 million in there. 9.37%. Well, on sheet 12 shows the county council, I believe he went from employee to a contract basis, a reduction of $198,000, or basically $200,000. That brings the spending down to $29.8. Page 20B increase is a unique one. $560,000 provision for salary adjustments. So that increases the budget amount to $33.4 million. So for 2019, you have an excess of $3.58 million, or 11.98%. Employee group insurance on sheet 14. The budget shows an increase of $1 million, or 5.93%. I'm not covering all of them. Last year's budget had $17.385 million. Only spent 15.7. Remainder $1.67 million, or 10.66%. This year's budget, you have $18.4 million. If I use last year's spending of 15.7, there's an excess of $2.7 million, or 17.22%. When I was employed in engineering, you're lucky to get 1% over your expenditures, or 2%, not 17% or 12%. This is obscene. This budget should be thrown out and you start from scratch all over again. We can't afford it. Again, as they say, you're chasing the people out of the county.
Let me just address you since you addressed us.
Excuse me, Jim.
He has 1 minute remaining.
Okay. Okay. Good. Thank you. Josh?
So, you commented on me and Dawn saying we were gonna help and we're not. One, I don't think it's realistic for you to expect us to come in when the budget was already created and fix the world. You look at the budget and you look at the 10 years that it's been there, and where it is now. Over $100 million in debt, borrowing 95% of our capital improvement. We're only spending $10 million on capital improvement. We probably should be spending 20. So now what you're doing is all the things that you're not fixing the way you should are going to cost more to fix later. If you think that there's a way to fix this all in a day or in one budget cycle, it's not going to happen. It can't happen. What we promised was a new outlook on the finances. It was trying to fix long-term problems. It's not going to happen overnight. There needs to be complete overhaul of how we do budgets. There needs to be efficiencies found. And there needs to be some hard decisions made to fix the problem. If you want to lower taxes, you get yourself in a good financial position to do it the right way. That's how we're going to do it, but it's not going to happen overnight.
How can you justify budgeting 17.22% more than was spent, 12% more than was spent, 13% more than was spent?
Last year?
No, more than what was spent last year.
Okay, wasn't here last year, so I don't know any of that.
The budget amount is in this year's budget.
What we said is we were gonna create committees and look at every department and try and find efficiencies. We couldn't do, this budget was already created. The employees done a lot of hard work on the direction they were given.
All right,
We
thank you.
didn't have enough time to overhaul the budget. It's just not realistic.
No,
And
it's
listen,
not.
you do your
It's very
homework,
realistic.
you do your homework, and you do a lot of hard work to come up here with these numbers. But there's a lot more to it than that.
I know, I've been through budgets.
Okay.
I was engineering manager for 2 corporations. I've been through budget cycles.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Getman. Ray, could you come up and, thank you. And explain some of the issues. Please state your name when you come up and everything you do.
Ray Sarinelli, County Auditor, from Sabache. So, some of those comparison and percentages are a little bit misleading because the amount reflected as paid or charged was what was expended through December 31st, 2018. The way the municipal budget works, you still have bills that come in after the end of the year that still get paid against those reserve balances. So to say that the amount budgeted is 12 or 17 or whatever the percentages were above the amount budgeted, that's what was expended through December 31st. You still have bills that come in through March 31st that still get paid against those. So some of those comparisons I don't think were.
Anyone else wish to address the Freeholder Board on the budget?
Not shame on you guys.
Excuse me, sir, can you sign your name?
Your name.
Not shame on you guys. Shame on the residents in Sussex County. If I talk to anybody in Sussex County, landowner, what would they say is the number one problem? Property taxes.
State of New Jersey.
Sir, can I please have your name for the record?
Yes, Carl Luther.
Thank you. And your
From Lafayette.
municipality?
Excuse me?
Your municipality?
Lafayette.
Lafayette. Thank you.
Why should you guys worry? Nobody's here saying, hey, enough is enough. How much an expenditures would save 1 penny in taxes? Go look at your auditor. Isn't that a shame? Ray, how much in expenditures would save 1 penny in taxes?
The tax rate?
Yes. I know in Lafayette Township, it's $17,000, saves a penny. You guys don't know that?
Is it 0.7 million? 1.7 million.
1.7 million saves 1 penny?
Mm-hmm.
That can't be right. The budget is 112 million,
Right.
and the taxes, what, 17?
17 billion in net valuation taxable, equalized value.
I know what equalized value is, but if this board wanted to reduce the taxes in Sussex County by 1 penny, what would be the number they would have to reduce it by?
1.7
million.
1.7 million.
He's talking about capital values versus Sussex County.
What?
No, I was just trying to explain.
Okay.
what he's explaining.
I went back and took a look. And the way I did it was, I've lived in the same house for 35 years. It's been the same thing. And because of equalization ratios and everything else, you can't go by that number. What I did is, how much did I pay in county taxes? Since 2000, it's gone up 60%. Between 2010 and 2018, 20%. The last time I was here, and George was the only person who was here, when I was here 4 years ago. From 2015 to 2018, it's gone up 10%. And now you add another 2% this year. And by the way, this 2% is an illusion. Everybody says that's a cap, right? That's the cap. You can't go above 2%. What it is the floor. That's the floor. Show me any municipality that doesn't get up to 2%. Because, and I don't want to upset my friend here.
There's plenty of municipalities that don't. There's plenty of them.
Because the reason why they don't is because of all the exceptions to the cap.
No, there's townships that have put themselves in a financial position, they don't need to go up to that cap to run their towns.
So I don't understand. I think most municipalities, or at least that I'm aware of, typically go up 2%.
No, they don't. Bacon's going out flat this year, and a lot of the other municipalities are under 2%.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I'm asking about this is I was mayor of Lafayette back in the 1970s. And I told the taxpayers I was going to get the municipal purpose budget down to 0. And how did I have to do that? What I had to do was find out, let's start with just reducing it by 1 penny, just 1 penny. And as I recall back at that time, it was $8,000 in Lafayette. All I had to do was reduce the budget by $8,000 and I saved 1 penny. Amazing. I would challenge you to take a look at that. And folks, here it comes. I'm going to be written up about this, I know. I've been in Sussex County 74 years. To the best of my knowledge, this board has never been controlled by Democrats. Are we dealing with rhinos here? What happened to smaller budgets and smaller government? Where?
Have you looked at the financial shape of the county?
Excuse me?
Do you know what the numbers are that we have in the county? The debt, the borrowing? Do you understand what the financial position is?
I have it right here.
Okay.
Yes.
So you understand what has to be done in order to be in a position to
1 minute.
get to where you're talking about? It's not, I mean, everybody wants their taxes lowered, but when you start in the position that we're in, there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work that has to be done.
How long did you know that there were more correction officers than there were inmates?
You know we started in January, right? So, you know, we've been talking a lot about this stuff.
Not changing the other visibility.
But that's correct. I was at a presentation given by the sheriff.
That's where
And he flat out said, we at one point in time had more correction officers than we did inmates.
Right.
And he said, and contrary to what you said, he said that hopefully by the end of this year, they'll be down 1 million, not 2 million.
Time.
I tell you, well, I know mosquito commission's important, but I think that what I have to say is just as important, but I'm limited in my time. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address the board?
I'm Rich Kelsky from Stillwater. I'm not here to attack you, what you may or may not have done, or I know you're new to the board and you're trying to do things, and I heard what Gregory said about the risk of a down economy affecting us very negatively and having to be prepared for that. And you know that I spoke last time about the community college. I'm a big believer in community colleges in the state of New Jersey because I think they give the students of this state one of the greatest economic springboard opportunities that exists. But they have to be properly managed. Mr. Hertzberg spoke about debt several times in the last 2 meetings. And I attended the board meeting yesterday at community college. And every board meeting I attend, I'm amazed by 2 items. The drop in credit hours and the endless capacity of the SCCC board to spend money. It's unbelievable. Last night, it was reported that credit hours dropped 6% from prior year. Yet the money continued to flow like water. You would not believe it. It's like a casino. With the unknown and undisclosed costs of the McGuire project hanging like a sword of Damocles over our heads, they estimated 4.2. The whispers are now 6 million. Another building project was approved last night. Extension of Building A, $4.885 million. Before the vote, it became apparent to everyone in the room that the entire board didn't really understand the total cost of the project, but they were ready to approve $4.885 million. So one of the board members, in an intelligent way, said, well, what's the total cost of the project? I believe that that person knew the total cost, but was trying to make the point. The answer was $6.5 million. So we add that to the McGuire project, and we're now looking at $12 million in a school whose enrollment is down 6% from prior year. Not to leave money lying around, they spent another $130,000 on computers, and there were several other significant expenditures. These expenditures get approved and approved and approved. Nobody asks any questions. They just keep happening. It's just another night, as usual, at SCCC. When you look at your total budget and you look at your total debt, you have to look at and break out what portion of that debt comes from Chapter 12 funding and the county's responsibility. So I would recommend, as you go forward, that you go online, download 1 year of minutes for the board of SCCC and the Board of School Estimate and read them. You will not sleep because you never saw money spent like this. I've never seen money spent like this. I've run multi-billion-dollar corporations. We argued over computer purchases smaller than that amount that was approved last night. So I have 4 questions I think you may want to keep track of in this budget. How much was given to SCCC for operating support? Last night a statement was made at the board meeting that it was the same as prior year.
That's true.
Understood. But there was also a little bit of cautionary statement given that we know we're going to have some problems in the future. One of the persons said that it wasn't, like a quote, I'm not quoting it in quotes, but it was clear to me that there's going to be revenue issues from the operating side coming forth, especially if we keep spending money and not only on capital expenses. And we have declining enrollment continuing. Even at the current level of enrollment, how can we support these levels of expenditure? So how much was approved in new Chapter 12 funds for SCCC this year? And the item I raised last time, how much was approved in changed purpose Chapter 12 funds? Because we keep moving these Chapter 12 funds around here, and all of a sudden we've got $5 billion sitting in a bag that we have to spend at the county college. That's what they said last night. You have to use those funds, or they're going to go away. Well, do we keep approving new Chapter 12 funds for purposes that don't really exist, and let those accumulate while you service the bond debt and we service the bond debt? And then suddenly, oh, we didn't need it for that. We need it for something else. Oh, we didn't need it for something else. Next year it's something else. And then all of a sudden it's like, let's spend $5 million on a new building. Thank you, ma'am. And so the last question I would ask, and I would ask Mr. Potts this question, what is the total portion of our debt service for Chapter 12 funds for Sussex County Community College in the current budget? Thank you for your time.
It's about 10%.
I'm sorry?
It's about 10%.
Is that, how much is the total?
That would be our portion.
I don't understand. How much is the total Chapter 12 debt service in that budget for SCCC? That's what
I just explained.
I don't know what 10% means.
10% of the total capital budget for this year. It's approximately 10% of the total capital budget for this year.
You're saying in our capital expense budget, or are you talking about our debt service, ongoing debt service that's in that budget?
It's the capital expenditure this year.
Okay, but that's not what I'm asking. So please
Excuse
listen
me, I'm
to
sorry.
the
Hold on.
Okay, how much is the total Chapter 12 debt service for SCCC in the current year's budget? How much are we going to spend servicing the debt, principal and interest?
Ray, do you happen to have that?
Yeah, I do.
The bond principal for county college bonds is $1,115,000, and the interest on those bonds is $171,189.
So that's the total bond portfolio of the college.
That's the total debt service in the 2019 budget for Sussex County College.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board?
Good evening, Peter Knight from Frankfurt. At the risk of being repetitive, at the beginning of the year, I expressed my great hope that with the addition of new members, that there would be a turn this year in doing two major things, and that is in budget management, which incorporates spending and retiring debt. And the second great area that I think is of great importance to the county, and it's in economic development, bringing new ratables to the county. Without budget management, without economic development, hand in hand for the future, we'll never retire debt. We'll continue to have severe pressures on being able to manage the budget. I learned tonight that our employees, represented by unions, are looking, I believe, if I understand this correctly, at a raise of 1%, and for supervisors, 0.5%. That seems to be a number, when I hear other areas of the budget going up 12, 17%, and regardless of what payments are made after January, the accrued amounts, it still is significant increases. So here's my challenge. My challenge to the board is to manage a budget, and that means starting now. Just in a few months, you'll start working on the next year's budget. There's no excuse to wait until the end of the year or the beginning of next year to find out that there's trouble. I challenge you to challenge every department to find opportunities to reduce costs. At the very least, if departments can reduce costs, I'm not saying necessarily that they have to cut services, but if they can make savings, whether it's 2%, 5%, they don't necessarily have to give up that budget, but they can plow it in to avoid any other cuts within their budget. So again, I hope that starting today, not in June, not in July, not in August, not in October, that the administration, as part of the organization, starts challenging each and every department to come up with savings, how to find operating efficiencies. And I would make that a criteria for evaluating every department's performance. Without making it a part of evaluating the performance, there's no risk for them from not doing it. So thank you, and have a good evening.
And Peter, just so you know, we have started that, and next meeting we'll have some announcements of exactly what the direction we're going.
As I said, I was very optimistic at the beginning of the year, and I continue to be so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address the board?
Mr. Freeholder, Director, if I can, I apologize to your auditor. I calculated, it is, Ray was right, it is 1.7 million.
Ray, don't you forget that you had somebody that said you were right. I want to tell you. Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board? Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion. I need a motion to close the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Final adoption of the 2019 Sussex County budget and approved. Freeholder. Be it resolved by the Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of Sussex that the budget hereinbefore set forth is hereby adopted and shall constitute an appropriation for the purposes stated to the sums herein set forth as appropriations, and authorization of the amount of $93,879,442 for the County of Sussex, for the county purposes to be raised by taxation, and certification to the County Board of Taxation of the following summary of the general revenues and appropriations. Need a motion to finally adopt the 2019 county budget as approved. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Do I have a second? I'll second it. Roll call.
Freeholder Fantasia?
Yes.
Freeholder Graham?
We don't have a chance to make comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Free to comment. Go ahead. Yeah. Okay.
6 years ago today, I was sworn in right there. Judge Weber swore me in. And it was also a budget meeting, and I had the opportunity to vote on a budget. It was my first budget, and this is my 7th budget. I had, previous to that, I had 7 years in municipal, and I never voted against the budget. I spent a lot of time and effort, not just in those other budgets, but in my very first budget. Even though it was my first meeting, I had spent 2 weeks of pouring through the budget with the help of John Eskelson and Bernie Wright, who was the head of finance at the time. Every budget that I worked on when I was on the committee or such was not done in just this fashion that you see. It's all line item by line item. I know it's real easy for certain people to come in and say you should do it differently, but that's how it is done. The binders are this thick, and then you get thicker, and when you start going into the weeds within those binders. Anybody who's worked on the budget, whether they worked on the budget for a year or they worked on the budget for a few months, knows that. And anybody who has municipal experience, which everybody here has, knows that. No budgets go by just on hearsay. Everything is challenged. But there are and there have become certain things in the budget that are protected areas that you can't seem to touch. And that's an area of frustration. Mr. Gettler, you pointed out certain percentages here and there, and some of them were accurate, some of them were not. Some of them were just, as Mr. Serenarily pointed out, they are end-of-year closings, and there are monies that are taken care of later on. And some of them, remember, a lot of Decembers are not taken care of until January and into February. But the one that troubles me the most this year is the Sheriff's Department, particularly because the Sheriff's Department has said on more than one occasion that there are big savings, but I see the savings shifting over from one side to the other side. I see the 911 center being a constant source of concern to me, because the numbers keep rolling out year after year after year. The amount of revenue has stabilized and has not increased. They increased by 2%, but 2% of a couple of $1,000s, not 2% of millions of dollars. There have been accusations that have made about the 911 center that the freeholders in the past have blocked towns that have come on that would have brought in an extra $20,000 or $30,000, when in fact the biggest problem of concern was that bringing in $20,000 or $30,000 from a municipality at the very same time is going to cost us another $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 in salaries. And I see that again. I see another $60,000 in salaries going into that particular area, while I don't see any appreciable revenues coming in. It's time for it to stop. And for the first time in 15 years, I'm going to say no. I'm going to vote no against the budget. I've never done that. No, I don't do that. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because there are things that you just have to say no. So I'm speaking my mind on that one. There are other departments that have, if you go through the budget, who have gone flat, reduced. There are certain areas where we've had to put more money into it. After the line item on insurance, you have to live that line item. That's a very tricky line item. And budgets are not expended amount of money. What budgets are is the amount of money that you have to have in place, because we can't borrow to make that line item. If we don't make that line item, we're in trouble. So we have to have, if we think we need $1.2 million, we have to have $1.3 million or $1.260 million, something to buffer us in case the insurance goes up. The same thing happens in reserves for salaries. We have to have reserves for people who leave, termination numbers. And I know I'm going on, but this is my last turn to talk about budgets. So
Thank you.
that's my point.
Thank you. Everyone on board gets to speak. Dawn, you doing something?
Okay, I've said a lot on this budget in past meetings. I agree with one thing that Freeholder Graham said, and I've said this before about the sacred cows in the budget. Kind of taken aback by things that have always been done a certain way here, and we just do it that way. And that's a foreign concept to me. Not comfortable with that. Again, broken record, but you know, when we get here and the budget is the way it is, we make our attempts, we meet with the professionals, we meet with everybody trying to figure out what can be done to reduce it. This year, again, too far along in the process to reinvent the wheel, but I would say we can villainize certain departments. We can say, oh, you know, $60,000 going up. I can detail over the course of the past years missteps by the board that was sitting at the time. Maybe it wouldn't sting as much if we had some action when the time was necessary for statutes of limitations ended on solar. If this board did not authorize $500,000 on a no-bid contract for a 17-page report, we might have a little more money to deal with. Unfortunately, that's what we are stuck with. Those are the cards we were dealt, and we're going to do the best that we can, and with fidelity for the taxpayers. This isn't our last term, so Josh and I are looking forward to, or our last budget, I should say, so we're looking forward, moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, so you want to say?
Yeah, I do want to say something, because this budget isn't something that we do quickly, like some people want to think, or that we just run through things and give everybody money that they need. Every department looks to make cuts. And many of these departments, they just, when you say don't cut services, you're going to cut services in some departments if that's what you have to do. I think our department heads worked really, really hard on this. And going back, and I don't want to start going back and blaming boards, but we did have a solid project that took all of whatever you had as far as any kind of buffer in your different line items was gone when they had to pay back that solar. So it's been very difficult, but not something that we don't look at carefully all the time. And even when it comes, and Josh spoke about this with the capital, our capital needs. I mean, when I came onto this board and I saw the state of our trucks and our fleets, and I was just astonished that we let vehicles like that on the road. I mean, the maintenance is such that we could be spending $20 million on capital and still be way behind in our maintenance. But we cut it down to 10, and we're trying to work with that as well. So I think going forward, you have a board that has the same mindset, that we want to do the best we can to make this a reasonable budget. And I think we will see changes going forward in the way that we handle things. And I'm happy that Josh and Dawn are on board, and I think they have a lot of good ideas in how to handle some of the debt going forward, and we're going to look at that as well. So every year you review, you look at different things, you talk about it, you try to find ways to cut, you look for efficiency. That's none of those words and those terminologies that you're hearing tonight are anything new. That's what you do. And then you give the best budget that you can. This budget was a little higher before. We were able to cut a little more to reduce it. The equalization this year hurt us. It was against us, so that caused a little bit of problem. But it's a fair budget to keep all the resources and all of the services that we need going forward for the residents of the County. So I am in favor of this budget, and I want to thank our accountant and our CFO and our Treasury Department and our business administrator for working as hard as they did and going back when we said, look, we've got to cut it even more, just find some ways to do that, and spending more time in reducing it again. So I want to thank them for the budget, and I know they worked really hard.
This budget has been worked on since last year.
Do you want to go last, or do you want to?
I'll go last. Go ahead. I thought you talked already, but we'll let you go. Go ahead.
I just want to say I've probably been most outspoken against the budget. This isn't the way I'm used to managing funds, especially when it comes to government. But this is the situation that we're in, and like Deputy Director Patillo said, you know, we could point fingers at a lot of different things and a lot of different people for the situation that we're in, but at the end of the day, that doesn't make it any better. This is the situation that we're in. We have to find a way out of it. And had we, you know, been involved since last year, I probably would have put my foot down and asked for changes. But it was explained to me that this process had been 6 months in the works. A lot of really hard-working professionals did what they were told to do and prepared a budget that they were asked to prepare. And it wasn't fair for us to come in and ask them to change it all in a matter of a month when, you know, there are legal statutes that it has to be done by, you know, which everybody knows about. So, you know, I expect that we will make a lot of changes. You know, we heard the word efficiency. I think that's what we're going to look for. One of the first things I think we talked about was, hey, you know, where's the fat that we can cut? And unfortunately, it sounds like over the years, you know, it's been cut, and borrow. And we're going to have to get really creative to fix this. And it's not going to be, and I always say, we don't want it to be painful, but it's going to be uncomfortable for all of us. That's just the truth. When you find yourself in this financial position, that's just the truth. So if you want someone that's going to stand up here and make, you know, talk about puppy dogs and ice cream, and everything's going to be great, we're going to lower taxes, that's just not realistic. Not in our financial position. But we're going to do a lot of hard work, and we know it's going to take a long time, but we're going to turn this county around. That's the plan.
What's the current rating of the county? Bond rating?
Double A.
Double A1.
Double A1.
Okay, with a double A1, when you borrow money, you get a much lower rate than double A, B, B+. And this process started probably more than 6 months. And county administrator was tasked to come up with a budget. It's not a situation where you say, we need to get rid of 10 people. That's a half-a-year project, because it goes to the civil service. And you hear about a lot of things going on in the county. It doesn't happen immediately. It takes time, and it's a process. And there are fixed costs that you have. What we do have to do here is control the borrowing of the county. As it was mentioned, that there will be a financial plan, and that's something that we have to stick to. Develop, stick to that plan to get the county in a situation where our cost goes down. Our cost of borrowing, the fact that we do even borrow. And that's what we are going to be working on for the future. So that there is a plan, and hopefully, not going to say hopefully, that freeholders that come later after everyone here follow a plan so that we don't have to do a lot of borrowing for capital projects. I think that everyone has worked hard on the budget, came up to bring it down a little bit more, and hopefully we can have a reasonable budget for 2020. Okay, let me call the question here. Oh, one more thing. 9/11, 911. You know, we keep hearing about 911. 911 has been with us for a while. It was mandated by the state. And by the way, the governor has now diverted, I don't know how many billions of dollars that it's collected in the state of New Jersey for the state budget. That money, it was supposed to come here to run the 911 center. It doesn't, because the governor, previous governor, doesn't come here. State legislature, they have their budget problems, so they don't care about all of the counties, not just Sussex County. And that's a real shame. Because the center, the idea of the center was emergency operation, and it was supposed to be funded by that money. And I don't understand how no one can challenge this thing legally, because they just take that money. Okay, Can I have a vote on the budget, please? We have a motion. Okay, we had a motion and a second. Vote, please. Roll call.
We had a vote from Freeholder Fantasia, yes.
Well, she's
Freeholder
gonna,
Graham.
hold on. I want to start, we're going to start fresh. So I'm going to take a new motion. Counselor, can we do this?
Yes.
Okay, I want a new motion to, for final adoption, please.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Second.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Freeholder Fantasia,
Yes.
Freeholder Graham,
No.
Freeholder Hertzberg,
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo,
Yes.
Freeholder Director Yardley.
Yes. Okay. Next item.
It's the final adoption of ordinance 2019-04, bond ordinance providing for the undertaking of 2019 capital improvements at and for certain facilities of Sussex County Community College located within the county of Sussex, state of New Jersey, appropriating $3 million, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $3 million bonds or notes of the county of Sussex, state of New Jersey, for financing such appropriation, the principal and interest on the aggregate principal amount of which to be entitled to state aid pursuant to Chapter 12 of the laws of New Jersey.
Okay. Do I have a motion for public hearing to be open? Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Is anyone interested to be heard on regarding this ordinance?
Richard Kelsey, Stillwater, New Jersey. I spoke about this previously, and I want to point out yet again that the minutes of Sussex County Community College Board indicate that they intend to draft, they intend to draft the minutes loosely and vaguely, so that the purpose of the bond issuance now, as stated to the Board of School Estimates, can be changed in the future. And that was stated on the record at the board. We can get the minutes online. So I understand you're approving this today, but I also want to caution you that the requested funding will most likely be altered in the future under the guise of a loosely drafted set of minutes and resolution requesting that.
Was that at today's meeting?
No, that was a statement by the controller, CFO of the institution at a board meeting. I sent that to you previously in a letter. So if you'd like it again, please contact me, otherwise I assume you have a letter.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board?
You'll get new warnings, I'll be repetitious. School is a bottomless pit. From what I hear, the enrollment keeps going down and down. There's just an article in the paper the other day, two highlights. A student from England and a student from Poland. I thought this is a community college. We're supporting it with our tax dollars. 2 out of the 3 examples they had to use to show their success were foreign students, not from Sussex County. We should not be spending 1 penny at that school until they get their act in shape. The McGuire project, it's a disaster, waiting to occur. I worked in environmental issues. Not 1 penny should have been spent on that property until every environmental issue was cleaned up. They're spending untold amounts of money. They have a declining student population, they want to extend another building. Chase some more people out of the county. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak on this?
I need a little education. When it says $3 million, and as I read it, just a little Freeholders comment, is that basically all coming back through the state Or are we doing what we don't want to do and getting into more debt?
Greg?
It's $1.5 million comes from the county and $1.5 million comes from the state.
Okay, I just want to say, we say we got to get us out of the hole, but we just dug a little deeper hole.
Anyone else wish to address the board on this issue? Seeing none, I will close it to the public. Have a vote to close to the public?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion to, that the ordinance be finally adopted, roll call vote. Do I have a motion, to adopt this?
Do that?
No,
No.
what you
So
did was you
moved.
closed your hearing.
I'm sorry.
So close the hearing. So, motion to the ordinance be adopted.
I moved it.
Second.
Discussion. Okay, seeing none.
Now, this is a fresh Chapter 12 funds. This is not the movement of money that was,
That's correct. This ordinance represents the 2019 request.
the 2019 request. I'd just like to make a comment. I guess that was the meeting last week, or 2 weeks ago that I missed. I apologize. I had to be out of the country and I couldn't make that. I am against moving Chapter 12 funds after you've already allocated them. If we've allocated them to windows or roofs or gutters, then I think that's where they should be spent. And if they're not spent, they should be sent back to the county, so the county does not have to reallocate that to something else. And if there's a fresh request, it should be a fresh request. That's not my position on this.
I did.
I'm going to speak a little bit in generic fashion because I'm not on the committee. I don't know all the details, but I will say there's been a lot of talk about trade schools and about trade trainings and about getting people the proper training so they can take jobs. And that was one of the things that initially got me to support this project. Was in my industry, I could see people going all over the state, paying a lot of money for trade training to take some of the jobs that we have, very good family sustaining jobs. And people in Sussex County had no options, besides, maybe some basic stuff that they could do at VOTEC, but not the level that they needed. And especially when you had some of the big businesses looking to expand in Sussex County. We talked about having a two-pronged attack, having to be able to lower the debt, do the hard financial stuff, but also bring businesses in that are going to pay taxes and grow businesses and give jobs, family sustaining jobs in Sussex County. This does some of that. So this is why I think that, some of these things, nobody wants to spend money when you're as in debt as we are, but you have to make smart investment in the future, including the youth of Sussex County. We have an obligation to fund these things to a certain extent, but we also have an obligation to react to the things going on in our county and help it move forward. And when you have these large companies that want to be in Sussex County and want to continue to grow, and they're asking for help, they're saying, we need trained people. These are the kind of things that we have to be able to do on the fly. And, like I said, I'm not on the committee, I don't know all the details of it, but, the fact that we are able to react to the companies looking to grow in Sussex County, I think is a good thing.
Kind of piggybacking off that, Herb and I went to the Workforce Development Breakfast for Morris, Sussex and Warren County last week, and they discussed labor trends when we were there. They surveyed over 4,000 employers in New Jersey. I think it was 83% of the employers said that they were having a difficult time finding recruits to fill the positions that they had, and 75% said there was a gap in the skill set that those employers needed. The top three areas of employment that were the most lacking, number one was the trades, two was analytics and data, and three was science, engineering, and medical. So when I look at the programs that are happening now at the college and what's proposed, they hit every single one of those because things are evolving. Now, to speak to reallocation of funds, I did say this at the last meeting. when I discussed the difference between needs versus wants. I was not on a prior Board of School estimate or with the group when they approved a turf field. It's a beautiful thing. Turf is great, turf is fun, turf is good for the athletes, turf is not a need. Turf is a want. To be able to take that money and use it for heating and ventilation systems at the college, that's a need. They need to breathe. Okay, so for me, reallocating those funds allowed me in my vote this year to vote on the ability to reallocate is the foolishness that went along with turf fields that this board or Board of School estimate approved was now able to be reversed. So that's my feelings.
Anyone else? Okay.
Is this the comment period?
Yeah. Did you want, no, on the motion?
Or just on the motion?
Okay, so we need a vote?
Freeholder Fantasia?
Yes.
Freeholder Graham?
Yes.
Freeholder Hertzberg?
Yes.
Freeholder Cotillo?
Yes.
Freeholder Director Yardley?
Yes. Okay, we need a motion to authorize the clerk to advertise this ordinance as finally adopted.
So,
And also post the same on the bulletin board to somebody else other than me jump the gun. I like that. Put the same on the bulletin board in the lobby of the county administrative center. Do you want?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Public session from the floor.
I give it a.
No.
Why, how about the apples?
Hold on, wait, we have to read a statement. We have to
Excuse
read
me,
a statement.
sir.
Yep.
Oh,
Wait,
I'm sorry, I
you
have
can
a statement
stand. Go ahead.
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
comments are limited to 5 minutes or less and must only address issues regarding agenda items. Please state your name and print your name and municipality on the sign-in sheet, and please speak loud and clear.
Okay.
Thank
I
you.
gotta do that again, or am I good?
That's okay.
We're good,
to
you're
go.
good. Go ahead.
I'm sorry when I was up here before. I haven't been that upset since I found out I was sitting behind the controls of a 2-ton rock at 1,200 feet and knew I only had one direction, and that was down. As far as the budget goes, I think what everybody has to do is think out of the box. For instance, why does every municipality in Sussex County have to have a construction official?
They don't.
Some are using the state construction officials.
Yeah, but that's an agreement with the state to provide them. Don't you think that the contractors in Sussex County would be really happy if they only had one set of building codes to go by, one set of fees to go by? They know that the office is open from 8 to 4. Tax collectors, and I wrote an editorial to the editor 10 years ago, I think, on this. At that time, I calculated, I think it cost almost $1.5 million in salaries and benefits and expenses. How much postage does it cost to send out notices? Technology demands that function be centralized. And I understand employees. Some of you know I was human resource director for a 2,000 employee company. I think you have to sit down with your employees and talk to them about a 401k. Our county employees are not stupid. And I think a 401k benefits them. It's portable, it goes with them. They know they're going to get it. They don't have to worry whether the state is contributing to the pension plan or anything like that. I think those avenues need to be explored. I understand the cost of benefits. It's just, sometimes I think we're just, and I'm not saying this about any of you, I think we're just locked in a box saying, I'm up for re-election in 3 years. That's not the box. We shouldn't be locked in that box. What we should be is, how do we get out of the box that we're in? Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address?
For being repetitive. You'll get little waters again.
Okay.
Total agreement. Some of the bills from 2018 are going to be paid in 2019. But he failed to mention the bills from 2017 that were paid in 2018. They offset each other. Doesn't make my numbers invalid. It might be a little bit, but they're totally valid. They're right out of your budget. I didn't mention cutting anything other than the excess in the budget. Sheriff's Department, $2 million more than last year. Salaries in that, $3.5 million more. Employee group insurance, $2.7 million more. That budget is totally excessive. And you've approved it, and you're chasing more people out of the county by approving it. I had one other item I was going to bring up tonight, but Elka and I talked before the meeting, we're in agreement. She assures me next meeting will be corrected. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else wish to address the board? Seeing none. Oh,
Excuse me?
It's getting late. I was going to cut you off, but it's okay.
If you'd like to cut me off.
No. Go ahead.
John Connell. I'm a resident of Newton, president of Sussex County Community College. I suppose I'm feeling a little bit lonely tonight, and I don't have a lot to say. A couple things I would like to say. To begin, the freeholders are welcome to talk with us at any time. Anything that's in the budget, the devil is always in the details of these things. I don't wish to talk a little bit about my accomplishments and so forth, but I suppose I feel a little bit forced into doing this. My chief financial officer has been the consultant for Brown University for 2 years and served in the California system as well as a consultant about budget and how those budgets are supposed to work. Also served as a CFO in that capacity in Burlington, in the state of New Jersey, and also at Salem. I have been involved in 7 institutions of higher education. I served at Hudson University as assistant chief academic officer, deeply involved in the budgets there. We saved that institution. That institution was a $22 million institution. It was going down the tubes. It was going down the tubes for reasons that have to do with demographics, and have to do with mischaracterization of how money should be spent, an understanding of workflow processes inside the organization regarding enrollment. We brought it out. We knew how to do that, and we did it. That institution was bleeding on paper clips. If you go there now, you'll see a thriving campus. It has to do with where and how you cut and where and how you invest. Josh and Dawn spoke about investing properly. The turf grass, at the time, not to defend it, but it was an investment. How do we deal with enrollment and flat ground and no place for us to have except our mud puddles? And so we're dealing with that. We also had a revenue side, maybe renting that out. But that's a need, as you say. Right? So that was a want. We thought that it would be helpful. Trading it for needs is the appropriate thing to do, and I entirely agree. But whether it's at Hudson or whether it was in Texas at an institution that had 70,000 students, or whether it was in Wyoming that had its own demographic issues, or whether it was back in Maine at Kennebec Valley Community College, who literally didn't even have paper clips. And we saved that institution too. Those folks who come with concepts and principles about how corporations work, I'm sure they know what that is. They don't know how institutions of higher education run. And I and my team know how to run a small institution that is run and cheap and close to the wire. It's what we do. We know how to do it. I had a very, very good conversation with Freeholder Graham one time about undercapitalizing things. You bet it's going to be undercapitalized, because that's the way that we get stuff done. Okay? We deliver the goods for what students need to enter a workforce that is constantly changing now.
whether they fix a car by knowing something about gears and gaskets doesn't matter anymore. It's all about computers and electronics. It's about troubleshooting. It's about mathematics. We have to prepare the students with the tools that are actually extant. In an industry with respect to how facilities are run, you have to prepare students for the world of work there too. If you go to UPS's new center, about 4 or 5 towns away, you're going to see an organization that runs like our college is supposed to be running. And investments in carpeting, and how the walls work for writing on them, and the absence of computers in some places, but the concentration of computers in other places. The use of ITV, that's the world of work today. Well, that's UPS. I'm not going to see that anyplace else. Every place else I've ever been, the Association of Technical Educators, it's the same story. Roche Industries, it's the same thing. It's the way that the world is working now. So we are happy to answer any and all questions that the freeholders might have. And with respect to the meeting last night, there's not going to be a conversation about the details of that, but I will tell you that what was presented here this evening was a mischaracterization of what took place. And mischaracterization and misrepresentation. So it's an effective rhetorical tool. It's good that rhetoricians can do that, but it's good also that it represents what actually.
Okay, excuse me, John.
Yes.
Did you sign it?
I believe I did.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Just a couple comments. I have talked to Bill Kirko. Curso, and I will probably call him Kirko forever because I sometimes suffer a little dyslexia.
Well, he misnames our law firm, Skank Price Smith and King, all the time as well. So don't worry about that.
But I think he has opened, just so people know, the lines of communication where we do talk. And I think that there's a communication that we did not, the board, for whatever reason, we talked about this, didn't have with the college. So I'm looking forward, as we look down the road, to see how that works so that we have the communications and the ideas and thoughts of what's going at the college. And we do know, and that information gets shared. And that's what we're looking forward. So we'll know, as the year goes by, to everyone that's been talking about the college or has some issues, that whether or not that is going to work, whether we will get information.
What I can tell you about that, Herb, I'm sorry, but Dr. Connolly has sent me as liaison most of the departments send me monthly.
Mm-hmm.
He sends me a 2 to 3 to 4 page report every 2 weeks that I read, and which is why I talk forever up here.
No, Sylvia, I'm sorry.
She's still
Did I
not
mention-
she's already here. However, what I'm saying about communication, I've spoken with Bill Curcio a multitude of times. Dr. Connolly is incredibly accessible. I've had 0 communication issues coming from or problems at all. So, I appreciate that.
I've enjoyed the conversations too. They've always been open and candid, and it's felt like it's a safe, honest dialogue, and that's what we need.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else wish to address the board? Oh, okay.
Tap it out.
If it's rhetoric to say that $4.885 million capital expenditures were approved yesterday, then I guess that's the definition of rhetoric, if they were approved yesterday. If it's rhetoric to say that the total project is over $6 million, then I guess that's rhetoric. And if it appeared to me that several of the board members were not aware of the full scope and breadth of the project, then I guess that's rhetoric. So rhetorically speaking, I encourage you to get as much information as possible, and it's really nice that everybody wants to hug everybody and do those things, but in the budgeting process, hugging goes to the side and numbers rule. And so I encourage you to focus on the numbers and the expenses. And regarding Mr. Hertzberg's comments about the value of education, I'm one of the great products of education in this country, and I know the value of it. But I also know that you can't spend $5 million to educate 200 people on the theory that you're going to get some jobs in the county. And so you have to look at this, let me finish.
Okay.
You have to look at the realities of the expense versus
Right.
the benefit. Things are very charming and lovely to talk about. I like talking about education. I went to some great schools. But it doesn't change the fact that when people make investments, they have to look at the cost and the benefit. And that's all I'm encouraging you to do as you approve things going through the year and you learn your way through the process. And so I just think it's very unfair to call math rhetoric. And I'm reporting on numbers and details of what happened. And I encourage you to read the minutes. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And just to correct you, my comments weren't only for the possible jobs that will be here. I see the real numbers of students who leave Sussex County to go to trade schools outside of the county. Those are students that would be here if they had the option. Those are the numbers I'm talking about. And I see them every day.
Okay. Anyone else wish to address? Okay, motion to close the public comment?
So, second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, close the public. Freeholder comments. Go on. We'll have you go first today.
Okay, first, I had the opportunity to tour the Fire Safety Training Academy. Last week I got to see the firing range. I understand they need upgrades to the roof, and there's some mold issues that had happened there, but it was great to see. I got to tour the burn buildings and everything, and it was raining out, so it kind of added to the ambiance. I felt like I was on a movie set. But I think it's very important that the board gets to get out, especially since we're new, and gets to actually see and experience everything, because when proposals do come in, we can actually say this is what we've seen or experienced. I also toured the administrative offices here before. We visited, I think, every office here and got to put some faces to names. And then also the clerk's office. Met with the staff. I saw the renovations, including all the bulletproof upgrades that were done there for safety and safety upgrades. So I thought that was really important too. I did go to Community College Day. I had the opportunity to speak there. About 60 people were there, and there were testimonials from former students, some exchange students. I was surprised. Mr. Gettler described a couple students who were, who were there. One in particular was actually on an exchange program from England, I believe. Also, Josh and I had the ability to tour Sussex County Technical School as well. And they have fantastic shops there, cosmetology, culinary, engineering, the trades, and it's a good foundation to segue into the Sussex County College for more specialized training. There's a little bit of a misconception that at the high school level, first of all, there's a finite number of spaces there, so there's students who cannot get in there. And again, a student graduating from there would not be at the same level of professional acumen as someone who then continued their education for 2 years at the county college, depending on what they wanted to do. I'm not saying there's not students who can graduate from that program directly into an employment pipeline, and if that's the case, that's wonderful. But that's not always the case. I think the two institutions complement each other quite well. Josh and I met with the Tick Squad. They came here tonight. I was thinking about the mosquito presentation tonight, and I think the Mosquito Commission was first talked about in the early 1900s in New Jersey, in the 1950s, when they actually established it. And I relate that to 60 years ago, and this is where we are. We're in the infancy stages with the tick situation, and I hope the state of New Jersey catches up, because those diseases that are affecting us from the mosquitoes are very, very similar, and the tick-borne diseases are honestly horrific, and they're on the rise. So I certainly hope it doesn't take the state 60 years to catch us up. A couple things that are upcoming. Sussex County Arts and Heritage is hosting an exhibit called The Creative Women. It's a partnership with the American Association of University Women. Saturday from 5 to 7. I'm looking forward to going to that. Also on Monday, April 29th, the Vernon Chamber of Commerce hosts their Taste of Vernon at Heaven Hill Farm. Tickets are $45. They're available online. I'll be there. Franklin Pond has a really special island dedication that is on May 4th. That's Mrs. Judy Postis. She was a volunteer. She passed. And her son is actually a councilman in Franklin now, but she was an incredible contributor to her community. And we have an island. She loved kayaking, and there's a little island in the middle of Franklin Pond, and we're going to dedicate the island in the middle of Franklin Pond to Judy Postis. And that's on May 4th. And last but not least, certainly not least, there's a forum on illegal dumping by the Paid Group, May 16th from 7 to 9 p.m. in the Vernon Mead. the appellation of the Red Tail Lodge, I believe, addressing the landfill. All freeholders and mayors from every municipality have been invited, and it's People Against Illegal Dumping. That's the Vernon Citizens Coalition. And again, this is not just an issue that's unique to Vernon. It's now spreading. It affects so many communities. So I'm hopeful for a large turnout. I'm really happy that we were invited, that the Freeholder Board was included, and I look forward to it. That's it. Did I make it under 5 minutes? I think so.
Yeah, I'm still awake, we're good. Go ahead, Sylvia.
I had the opportunity of attending the greenhouse ribbon cutting ceremony at Sussex County Community College on Earth Day, which was Monday. The greenhouse that they built at the college is used as part of 2 different degrees that they offer in the field of agriculture. The first degree is agriculture business, and the second one is horticulture science. I said, of all the speakers that were there, excellent speakers, one that really was of interest was Jacob Hunt, who's one of the young family members of Windy Brow Farm. He's also the Foodshed Alliance Board President, and he spoke about the cooperative partnership that's involved in this greenhouse. And he had mentioned that with the college, there is so much new technology and education in relation to future agricultural needs and the way that we're going to be producing food in the future. And there is hydroponic systems in this greenhouse that lend itself to a small footprint rather than a huge farm. They're able to do things with less room. And listening to him about the technology that's coming into this part of the programs and to agriculture as a whole was very interesting, because we've just been talking about all these things. We talk about the trends now in education when it comes to different types of education and trades. Well, the trend in education to keep farmers in Sussex County is very, very important, that they know and understand these new technologies. Sussex County's history is agriculture, and if we really want to keep it moving in the future with this next generation of farmers, then integrating this type of technology and a greenhouse to start into the education of the college is extremely important. And it was very nice to see that this is with partnerships as well. And it all started with a charitable contribution. So I just wanted to congratulate you, John. It was very interesting to be there and to watch what was going on in the greenhouse, and I know it'll be a start of working with the new technology for agriculture. Oh, one more. Sorry. I just want to mention one more. At our last meeting, we spoke about the Cram the Cruiser, and the local police departments, the Sheriff's Office, and the Jersey State Police Troopers of Sussex County joined together the weekend before Easter, and they hosted the 3rd annual Cram the Cruiser food drive at local food stores across the county. And Byron Police Chief Peter Sabita and Sparta Police Chief Neil Spidoletto led the county-wide drive, which benefits our food pantry in Sussex County for the Division of Social Services. But this is the most important thing that I have to say about that. This year's collection yielded the most food ever collected through this effort. And so if anyone is in need of food, you can come to our pantry at 83 Spring Street. But the point is, I want to thank the residents of Sussex County of being so generous to help us stock that food pantry, and that this is the most they've ever received is really an attribute to the kindness and the hearts of the people in Sussex County, and I want to thank them. And I want to thank all the police and state police and sheriff's office that was involved in this.
Okay. George?
I'd like to thank the Cram the Cruiser program too. I was in Byram. I went to Byram's ShopRite twice, and they were there all day long. Especially the chief. The chief was there all day long. We said a lot about the budget tonight. I want to say something about the employees. They're amazing people that work for the county. It's not easy working for a government agency. Everybody piles on you, everybody criticizes you. You can always do it a better way, or we should get rid of people, or these people aren't working hard enough. I haven't found that. In my 6 years here, and through all the departments, I have never found a greater group of people, more dedicated. We have our Health and Human Services directors here today, and both of them are very dedicated, but in their departments, it doesn't start from the top down, it starts from the bottom up. People that have worked for them are the ones that make you shine. As good as you are, they make you shine. And I'm very proud of all of you. Same thing goes for other departments. There was a lot of things that were said about the jail tonight. The corrections officers work under very adverse conditions. Their jobs are always a matter of something changing as you turn around the corner. It's very, very tight quarters. They're amazing men and women, and they keep us safe. And I also want to talk about the schools, another thing that we like to dump on. Wake up back there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You can't grow a county. You can't grow it. You can't bring it back from where it is unless you have the educational facilities that people want to move here. It's not going to be an easy thing. I've gone to a lot of different places and I've seen a lot of different counties, some that are growing, some that are not growing. And the only way to bring it into tune is who we are, where we are, what our restrictions are. Economic development is something that is easy to say. I mean, for years we said, oh, we'll put a few $1,000s in here, a few $1,000s in there, what brings us to what we need? But without education, and we have an excellent trade school, Sussex County VOTEC. But what Mr. Connolly is doing, President Connolly is doing, is bringing our school into the 21st century. It's not the same. Back in the 1990s, everybody wanted to go to school and learn computers. Well, they still learning computers, but it's a different type of computers. It's not just sitting there at a PC anymore. Now it's a whole different venture. It's partnering with automotive. By the way, my car is $5,100 in electronics that I have to fix. I hope you have somebody that can do that.
Hope it's on warranty.
Yeah. These are investments. These are investments. There are some things, like I said, I don't agree with shifting money from one side to the other. If we're going to put it, let's put it in that direction. If we don't use it, then let's put it back. But I do applaud what you're doing over there. I know it has not been an easy job. I know that I've gone out of my way to make sure that it wasn't an easy job. I'm sorry. What you have done is commendable, and particularly commendable by my little pet is the Public Safety Training Academy. Is that you have you're working very hard to make sure that that is something that we're going to have for many, many years to come. Thank you very much. That's why. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I've said enough to that.
Okay. One of the, I was going to say one of the smart freeholders, but I'm not going to say that. I'm sure they quote it in the Herald and be in all sorts of trouble.
It keeps doing that.
Is it papers hitting?
Nothing's anywhere
No, we're all business. So we're going to be short on April 17th, right? Yeah. April 17th, my dog Baxter and I attended the Clothesline Project sponsored by Jenny's House, Daisy, and the Office of Child Protection and Permanency. And it was an awareness program that you could go and get some help. And it was on the square, and there was an open house at Jenny's house that you could take a tour and see the facility. And I think that sometimes we forget about the abuse of children and people. And it's an opportunity to at least find out what the services are. And if you drove by and you saw a bunch of shirts out there hanging, like clothes wash, you know, that's what it was. It was a nice event, and we also had coffee with a cop on the same day, so you could have coffee with police officers. That was a very good event. Yes, I did attend the workforce development, and Dr. Conley might be something you may want to attend when they have it. I think it's twice a year. I think they have that. You have some of the trade unions there, and it's a good opportunity. On April 30th, Senator Sweeney and Senator Orho have scheduled a town hall event at Sussex County Community College at 6 p.m. This program will be held at the Performing Arts Center. Discussion will be the path to progress, addressing fiscal reform. So
it's a really good presentation if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, and they held it That's the same one they held in Sparta. It's a very good, it's too bad it's late because some of the people that were here would give them an opportunity to go and listen to the premier, well, the top Democrat in the state of New Jersey in the Senate. He'll be there along with Senator Oroho, Republican. So it's both sides talking about fiscal reform. Lake Opacon Commission has written a letter to Governor Murphy. I don't know if they talked about this sediment discharge from the Weldon Quarry attributed into the lake, so we'll follow that up. And 911. Governor Murphy proposed spending plan for 2020, and will once again divert almost 90% of the $120 million in surcharges it receives as it expects to collect for the 911 system. So on your bill, there's a certain percentage that you pay goes to 911. New Jersey has the distinct pleasure, I guess, the way I say it, or the unfortunate pleasure of being the worst offender of diverting 911 fees in the nation, and has collected an estimated $1.4 billion since 2006. The New Jersey Association of County is urging the state leaders to restore the funding and comply with federal guidelines for grant funding and best practices. And this is the money that the state was promising when 911 was established. And to talk about what's going on in Sussex County, you know, we're looking at 600, total of 600 feet for streams and lakes, and the restrictions that are being put on this county. So people are leaving, but you have so many restrictions. When we talk about bringing economic development here in industry, you have to be really creative because, you know, Bergen County and Essex County and Union County, they don't have to worry about stream encroachment because it's all piped up already. They don't have to worry about steep slopes because they've already bulldozed them down and everything's flattened. We do not get a break from the state, and we have to find a way to move forward so we can have development here. So it's difficult at times to move forward, but this board, as a group, will try to do that, and we intend to work on the budget and improve things as best we can. So just wanted to say that at the end here. Okay. Approval of consent agenda.
The Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of Sussex have reviewed the consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions and determined that adoption of said resolutions is in and will further the public interest. If any freeholder would like to remove an item to be considered separately, please do so now.
Okay. Do you have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Freeholder Fantasia.
Yes.
Freeholder Green.
Yes.
Freeholder Hertzberg.
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo.
Yes.
Freeholder Director Yardley.
Yes. Motion to approve the minutes regular meeting April 10th, 2019. Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Voice vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay. One abstention. Motion to approve executive sessions April 10th, 2019.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay. Appointment and/or resignations. Motion to adopt resolution A and B.
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adopt resolution C and D.
Motion.
What were you tabling that?
Well, we need to make a motion, then we can table that. Do you wish to table? Okay.
I just thought that's what we were
All
doing.
right. Okay, discussion. So I need a motion to.
I'll take back my motion.
Hold on. Don't we have to first, don't I have to first say all in favor?
No, we want to discuss it.
Yeah, you're gonna get the discussion. So in order to discuss
So you
it,
gotta move it. So
you have to move it.
All right, so I made a motion.
I'll make a second.
Okay.
Discussion.
Discussion. Okay.
We received, I know at the last meeting, we had asked for the information. Marianne Fox was already a current member, so there wasn't a lot of mystery there. Elizabeth Brown, we had requested at the last meeting, could we get, some information? And I know that we received something at 11:30 today. So, and then just again, taking a look at the resume. I had an opportunity to look, and I'm satisfied, but I don't know if Josh had the opportunity or anybody else had the opportunity to, to really look into it with such late information coming. So again, it's done under the advice and consent of us, and I don't know how comfortable everyone is advising and consenting to see a name on the paper if you don't know anything about it because of late receipt.
Okay.
So I just want to make that point.
Anyone else wish to say?
I saw it was exceptional resume. I mean, really exceptional resume. I don't know Elizabeth Brown at all from the resume. Great
That's
resume.
standing.
Yeah.
As part of the discussion, Counselor, can you explain why we're voting? I asked at the last meeting, are we mandated to vote on this? And
Well, that's the only way someone can get that appointment. We do have to appoint them, right? So otherwise, because of the advice and consent procedure. So no one gets appointed without an affirmative vote of this board. I also, to add to that, I did put a bunch of stuff together in a memo, and it addresses issues way bit beyond this question, but yes, you have to vote.
That's what we received at 11:30 today. That's what I was
What?
saying. That
From me?
From whomever. I checked my 11:27
Oh, no, this was
today.
something
It was
different.
received.
This was at least yesterday or.
The entire breakdown of the college, the procedures, the voting, the ordinances, all of that, I received at 11:27 today. Is that what you're referring to?
I don't know. I mean, this went on,
I don't know.
I put this one. I'm okay with it. I put this one on Monday.
I did get to review the resume.
That's amazing.
Although briefly, but it was.
okay. Okay, so that is Elizabeth Brown. Okay. Elizabeth Brown.
You can make a, Josh, you make a motion to.
I am okay with that. I just thought that's what we said we were going to do because we just got the resumes.
Okay. Can you call for a vote?
Freeholder Fantasia?
Yes.
Freeholder Graham?
Yes.
Freeholder Hertzberg?
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo?
Yes.
Freeholder Director Yardley?
Yes. Okay, resolution to adopt resolutions A and B.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, discussion? All in favor? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. Award of contracts, okay.
The Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of Sussex have reviewed the award of contract change orders bids consisting of various proposed resolutions and determined that adoption of the said resolutions is in and will further the public interest. If any freeholder would like to remove an item to be considered separately, please do so now.
Okay. Motion to adopt the contract A and B.
Motion.
Second, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? Roll call.
Freeholder Fantasia?
Yes.
Freeholder Graham?
Yes.
Freeholder Hertzberg?
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo?
Yes.
Freeholder Director Yardley?
Yes. Financial payment of the bills for April 24, 2019. Do I have a motion to approve the bill list?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, roll call?
Freeholder Fantasia?
Yes.
Freeholder Graham?
Yes.
Freeholder Hertzberg?
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo?
Yes.
Freeholder Director Yardley?
Introduction, first reading, bond ordinance 2019-005.
Bond ordinance providing for various 2019 capital improvements by and in the County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, appropriating $10 million $86,000, therefore including a grant from the New Jersey Department of Transportation in the amount of $533,866, and authorizing $9,074,000 in bonds or notes of the county to finance part of the cost thereof.
Okay, we have a motion to introduce this ordinance on first reading.
Motion.
We have a second?
Second?
Discussion? Okay, roll call.
Freeholder Fantasia.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Hertzberg.
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo.
Yes.
Freeholder Director Yardley.
Yes. Motion to authorize the clerk to advertise this ordinance as introduced for the first reading and also post same on the bulletin board in the lobby of the County Administrative Center, together with a notice of public hearing stating that the hearing will be held on May 15, 2019 at 7 p.m. prior to final adoption of this ordinance. Okay. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Introduction for first reading, bond ordinance 2019-006.
Bond ordinance providing for various general capital improvements at the Sussex County Technical School located within the County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, appropriating $316,552.56, therefore, and reappropriating excess bond proceeds in the amount of $316,552.56 to finance all or a portion of the cost.
Do I have a motion to introduce this ordinance first reading?
Motion to introduce.
Second?
Okay, roll call.
Freeholder Fantasia.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Hertzberg.
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo.
Yes.
Freeholder Director Yardley.
Yes. Motion to authorize the clerk to advertise this ordinance for first reading and also post same on the bulletin board in the lobby of the County Administrative Center, together with a notice of public hearing stating the hearing will be held on May 15, 2019 at 7 p.m. prior to final adoption of this ordinance. We have a motion?
Motion.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Introduction, first reading, bond ordinance 2019-007.
Bond ordinance providing for capital improvements to the Sussex County Technical School located within the County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, appropriating $246,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $246,000 bonds or notes of the County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, for financing of such appropriation.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, roll call. Roll call, sorry.
Freeholder Fantasia.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Hertzberg.
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo. Freeholder Director Yardley.
Yes. Motion to authorize the clerk to advertise this ordinance as introduced for the first reading and also post the same on the bulletin board in the lobby of the County Administrative Center, together with notice of public hearing stating that a hearing will be held on May 15, 2019 at 7 p.m. prior to final adoption of this ordinance. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Introduction, first reading, bond ordinance 2019-007.
Bond ordinance amending bond ordinance number 18-02, providing for the undertaking of 2018 capital improvements at and for certain facilities of Sussex County Community College, which are entitled to state aid pursuant to Chapter 12 of the laws of New Jersey of 1971, heretofore finally adopted by the County of Sussex, State of New Jersey on April 11, 2018, to amend the description therein.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Freeholder Fantasia.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Hertzberg.
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo.
Yes.
Freeholder Director Yardley.
Okay, need a motion to authorize the clerk to advertise this ordinance as introduced for the first reading. I'm getting good at this reading, and also post the same on the bulletin board in the lobby of the County Administrative Center, together with a notice of public hearing stating the hearing will be held on May 15, 2019 at 7 p.m. prior to final adoption of this ordinance. Motion?
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, introduction, first reading, bond ordinance 2019-008.
Capital ordinance providing for communication information technology and general capital improvements and acquisition of equipment for various county-owned facilities in and for the County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, and appropriating $1,189,506 from the Capital Improvement Fund to pay for the cost thereof.
Okay, I just want to correct that was 009, 2019 009.
Make a motion for 2019 for the month.
Second.
Roll call.
Freeholder Fantasia.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Hertzberg.
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo.
Yes.
Freeholder Director Yorken.
Need a motion to authorize the clerk to advertise this ordinance as introduced for the first reading, and also post same on the bulletin board in the lobby of the County Administrative Center, together with a notice of public hearing, stating that a hearing will be held on May 15, 2019 at 7 p.m. prior to final adoption of this ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Personnel? Do we have any personnel questions?
Yes, you do have a personnel agenda this evening. These are all positions associated with the library for the positions of senior library assistant, library associate, senior library assistant, library associate, building maintenance worker, and library associate.
Okay. Do I have a resolution to adopt the personnel agenda?
Motion to adopt.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Freeholder Fantasia.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Hertzberg.
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo.
Yes.
Freeholder Director Yorken.
Yes. Is there an administrative report?
I will be brief. I am pleased to announce that tomorrow is Sussex County's first countywide Bring Your Child to Work Day. There's been a very nice program prepared. We're expecting in excess of 20 children who will have the opportunity not only to be able to see the work that their parents are engaged in, but also be able to see what the county government does on a day-to-day basis. So we'll be inspiring young minds to be the next leaders in our county government. Also on April 16th, I had the opportunity to attend the local working group for the Emergency Management Planning Council at the Emergency Operations Center, and just recognize all those that were involved, particularly our emergency operations staff, who did a very nice job putting together that meeting. That's all.
Okay, thank you. County Council?
Well, I'll be brief also. Nothing tonight. Thank you.
You win.
Good job.
Yeah.
I got it. I got it.
Okay, so we do the public session. Unfinished business, new business, public session from the floor.
Everyone is to keep their comments to 5 minutes. Please state your name and print your name and municipality on the signage sheet. Please speak loud and clear.
Okay, do I have a motion to open the floor for public comment?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Open to the floor. Any comment?
I'll make it complete. You'll get her from one, Jan. Last meeting, there was discussions on the C1 streams, and there were a few minor comments tonight. There is basically control of over 85 square miles, good part of it in Sussex County. Like and I, as I said last time, actually, when at the end of the year, we were the only property owners to show up to here. It's going to limit sewage treatment plants. Existing plants aren't going to be able to expand. If you're thinking of economic development, you got a major problem. I sent in another Oprah request for more information. I put a $25 limit on it. I thought that would cover it. I got a phone call, they want $85. I was stuck. I said, yes, I haven't received the information. I don't know if it's going to be gold or platinum plated or what it's going to be. If we have trouble now encouraging businesses to come in, this isn't going to help us.
That's for sure.
Correct.
If you don't have an existing sewage plant, probably you're going to figure that out. So don't count on much economic development. You're going to have to find a way to get money without having economic development. Now, I gave you a copy of the letter I got from the attorney at the hearing. They're asking for extensions, they're asking for it to be killed. I don't know. They promised me a package of information. I did not get the information, or I have it just like yet. So I don't know what the rest of the comments are. As far as ticks, not an expert. Last year at this time in the morning, I was happy to wake up. I didn't know whether I was going to call for an ambulance or a hearse. I was at that point.
Oh, could you get bites?
Tick bites.
Okay.
I had 2 tick-borne diseases, Lyme and another one. There is no way to confirm it. Supposedly, I'm cured, quote unquote. I'm standing here tonight. Did cost me a hip. This is a major problem. Yesterday, I had 5 ticks. When I told you my record was 24, when I was looking through some information, no, it's 27. I would like to put in guinea hens or something to try and help with the problem. We have a few turkeys, possums supposedly help. I have a neighbor that is very upset if her gardens get disturbed. I had a neighbor had a panty that used to go over and she got it off. So I can't put in guinea hens or anything because if they go across the street, I'm going to have a neighbor very upset with me. We've got to find something that we can do for this problem. So they gave me a sticker. I think I earned it. Hopefully, well, last year, as I said, they wound up taking old medicines that they find now are working for tick-borne diseases. Yeah, I was on a combination of 3 different medications. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board? Seeing none, we'll close to the public. Motion to close? All in favor?
Second.
Go on second. Okay. Before we go, do we need to go back to executive session? Do we need to go back to executive session? Yes?
I don't know at this hour if, I mean, it's really the board's choice. I know council has some additional information to share. I was not done with my presentation, but there's not much more I'll get into this evening. I don't know, Counselor.
Oh, okay. You know, I think I can ask what I want to ask right here. Is there a consensus on moving forward with the resolution for the opioid litigation for next meeting? There was actually for this meeting, but with purchasing stuff that had requirements that had to be met. So given our interview tonight, we would go for the next agenda, right?
Is he going to come back at the next?
If you want him to, but he wasn't going to. After closed session, council and I sat down and figured out the rest of the contractual arrangements, which you've already seen. There were no changes to be made. So we'd set that for the next meeting. Right? That's a concern.
Sure.
I have some questions about it.
You have some questions?
Yeah, I guess my concern is, do we have enough cost associated with opioids to make it worth our while? And do you have the staff to fill out that application form?
Yeah, well, see, they have a third-party vendor that comes in and assists in that process very much.
Then we have nothing to lose by doing it.
Right, we really don't, and we have a very interesting report from an agency here that outlines, that really supports this. You'll know what I'm talking about, and already talks about, you know, getting behind this and damages that they have. So,
And we can opt out. My understanding, we opt out at any time.
Oh, you can at any time.
There's no obligation or cost to us.
Right.
Okay.
But we do, and it costs us
And
nothing.
Neil's not here tonight, but, you know, I'm gonna make sure that he gets a copy of that contract. Neil. Neil wanted to see it where it's not costing us anything.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Well, it's not, so.
We want to make sure Neil gets his copy.
So with that in mind, anything else that I might have had left, I want to go back and take a look at.
Okay. Anyone else before, before I ask for the adjournment, visit the county website for future meeting dates and locations. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion.
Second.
Adjourned.